Hey everybody, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please hit that like button. Share and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you get anything from this, a connected dot, an epiphany, a mind blown moment, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. Links are right under this video. Check out my website. I do all this fun stuff. New one, AllyKatzkreations211.com. Hard to see. There's rhodonite in the bottom. Yeah. Gems. My passion too. Love a lot of things. Alien Gray Agenda. Council of the Seven Lights by George W. Van Tassel. And we are on chapter 8. Methuselah's Toy. So for those who might be just tuning in, I did 8 other chapters before this. I would suggest watching those videos. I don't read everything out of his sections. There's not too much left here. There might be 1 or 2 other chapters, and then we're going to finish this book. So I'm getting sad. I get sad at the end of the books. Some of these are really good. So Methuselah's Toy, the Great Pyramid. Pyr means fire. Mid, the equal distance between the extremes. Pyramid. Fire or positive light substance in the middle of Giza, Egypt, is the only existing structure on the earth that remains intact after 25,816 years. And I have a debate if that's even longer than that. I think it's longer. Just saying, look different. But I believe it was there a lot longer than that. It is the greatest power plant ever built on this planet. At the time of its use, it could furnish more power than the generators at Niagara Falls could produce in 1,000 years, saying a lot. The Great Pyramid was never intended to be a tomb or a monument for the pharaohs. Neither was it built by the Egyptians or Hyksos. Shiana Dean has a lot to say about the Hyksos, as assumed by historians. It was erected by a remnant of the Adamic race on this planet. In order to produce the power required, the pyramid was built in minute conformity to the measurements of our solar system. All dimensions were accurately computed to ensure correct functional operation. The pyramid was designed by Enoch and built by Thothma with the help of the true descendants of the Adamic race, the space people, who had made a forced landing on Earth. Knowing the universal laws and their application, they received timely warning and journeyed to Egypt before the sinking of the great continent, Atlantis. Enoch, Thothma, flying in an aircraft called Valix, after landing in Egypt 25,825 years ago, they started the operations and spent the next 9 years in building the Great Pyramid. Utilizing knowledge gleaned from their secret records, they employed the infinite light powers. They knew how to manipulate the light lines of force to cut the blocks with light energy from the A positive and B negative lines of force. They transported the heavy blocks with their relics. Hovering over each block, they encompassed in their force field, emanating the weight of the block in relation to the earth. The block shape so as to assure astronomical precision corresponded to and contain all permanent data of our Earth and solar system. These correct dimensions were necessary in creating a positive solar vortex on a small scale from the A positive and B negative lines of light force. The Great Pyramid was erected at its present location for several reasons. Its location was on the side of the negative polarity from the equator, the 30th latitude, 30th degree, was the maximum vortex belt on both sides of the equator. It was lateral through the Earth to the positive pole of the planet's core. It was centrally located on the Earth's landmass, which was in its nearest maximum point of negative polarity. It was opposite to the Earth's largest mass of water, which served as a reflector. The weight of the pyramid had to be tremendous in order to prevent it twisting out of shape or rotating on its base. The controversial capstone and a few courses of blocks were left off intentionally, as experiments proved they were not needed. As the Earth rotated, each revolution brought the pyramid into a cycle of A positive and B negative lines of force. This caused an increase in the vortex shaft of positive force, the principle of the cyclotron. Thus, after a period of days, the vortex reached and held its maximum force. All this planning and work, astronomy, mathematics, and engineering was recorded symbolically in the stones as the work progressed. Jesus knew this by intuition and journeyed to Egypt to refresh his memory from the stone records erected by his people. Hi. In building this plant of astonishing dimensions, their chief concern was the safe return to their own people. Being endowed with true perception, they visioned the coming cataclysms of the planet and planned an exodus. When the time of the departure arrived, they entered the king's chamber in the pyramid and charged themselves in the super light force vortex. Then they boarded their ships, hovering for a while over the truncated top of the pyramid in the positive shaft of force, which extended beyond the gravity range of the planet. When the ships were properly charged, they were actually repelled from the planet and navigated with super speed to their destination. Some of the sons of God, the Adamic race, who remained on this planet, knew of and used the stored up power of the pyramid for several thousand years. For instance, Methuselah and his sons prolonged their lifespan for hundreds of years by charging their bodies in the vortex. Many of the deceased pharaohs placed in the open tomb of the king's chamber for regeneration were restored to life. Those who did not revive were left there for a period of 28 days, during which time the mummification took place. However, as the earth moved in the precession of the equinox, the regenerative and rejuvenating powers embodied in the pyramid were lost. Rulers around the earth, knowing of the rejuvenating powers of pyramid, tried to duplicate the Great Pyramid of Giza by building a pyramid of their own by manual labor in order to live longer themselves. They did not fully know the principles of the primary energy, however, so their pyramids became their tombs. Nevertheless, the secrets are not completely lost. Humans, knowing they are alive now and not knowing what lies beyond the transition called death, attempt every means possible to keep their physical bodies alive. The inner mind keeps transmitting the faint hope to their understanding that they can live forever. Naturally knowing that they possess a physical vehicle now, they are reluctant to part with the old model to which they have become accustomed. Monkey glands, hormones, operations, injections, etc., have been advanced by the technicians in biological and medical science to try to prolong the life of the physical body. People assume that substance of physical or chemical nature can support substance of like physical matter. This is based on the theory that if you keep adding dirt to a hill, that erosion is constantly dispersing. It will always be a hill. Nature always wins the battle in the long run because natural forces are eternal. Man's efforts to overcome nature by opposing it will lose every time. The only means by which man can add years to the physical form is by going with the natural eternal forces. Life is eternally continuous. Humans have placed the limits of was, are, and will be on life. This divisions of time are from the physical brain. The flesh we call the brain only understands now. It only exists in the physical body for now. It cannot understand anything beyond its own limits of birth and death. All physical substance changes in time. It is understandable when one has spent his years in building up associations, friends, and family, why he wishes to remain here longer. His brain's concept of physical body does not want to give up its encasing form. The biggest trouble on this planet is that when you get smart enough to do something with the knowledge you have acquired here, death intervenes. Our lifespan is too short. In Genesis chapter 5, it tells us of Seth, Enos, Jared, Methuselah, and others living for hundreds of years. They were so close to the knowledge of their ancestors of the Adamic colony on Earth that they used the fountain of youth principles to add to their lifespan. Rejuvenation is done with the infinite light, or what is called God power. In the application of this power, one receiving it does not see, feel, taste, smell, or hear anything. I have the information to make rejuvenation possible, adding 50 to 80 years onto the average lifespan, plus resumption of youthful vitality. The only difficulty I have is that we are on a planet that is revolving. In order to operate this apparatus, I must clock it to the Earth's rotation, quite like a large telescope is clocked to keep it centered on the object being viewed. Here's a channeling. O mortal beings, though many express belief in the teachers I have sent, teachers, I accept them, providing that the expression of belief is not a living lie. And those who live my laws and say there is no God above them except I accept also. Though words may deny my person, the actions prove me in the heart. Belief expressed in words is not verified in fact unless the living brings out the proof. Through multitudes have closed the door that keeps me from being the directing force. I condemn them not. Though laws may make my being infinite and boundless beyond comprehension, I am not there in individual except as I am expressed in action. O mortals bound in density, look to the examples I have placed around you. Bow not your head to come to me. Only prepare that I may be recognized within your being. What are we working on, folks? Stumble not on barriers that mortal eyes fail to see. Build a perception within that may guide your path. Then I might light the way so none shall stumble in progress of eternity. Learn not upon the cane of chance, but only cast a glance in my direction, which is within. To find the way by day or night, I make the path. I light the light. I lead you by the hand, and yet you trust me not. Although you profess my being in words, the cycle has come in the circulation of my doing. And now I lead my faithful ones to victory over self, for they shall recognize my image is the light of sight and the light of right, instilled within each of my parts. And though I shake the ashes of my universe, the furnaces of my heat shall be the love of me expressed in thee. Before we move on, we got one more chapter. There's a lot to unwrap here. Again, perception is really tricky because there's no right or wrong. If one perceives the earth is round, the earth is round. If one perceives the earth is flat, the earth is flat. You see. Are there machines out there? Yes. The super soldier, all the super soldiers say that there's regeneration tech, there's med beds and stuff of that nature that does help. But again, this is very tricky because in multiple places there has been infiltration in the quantum. So if a medbed is using quantum technology, I would be very, very weary unless you go within yourself, not hoping to feel better and get new whatever, new legs, new teeth, new this, new that, right? That we want, that's an ego talking. I hate to say that, but that you know, as much as we want to feel better internally, we have to make the steps in order to do so. But there are things that were outside of our control, like broken legs, bad backs, and stuff like that, that we need a machine to help fix us. I just be very careful if they start coming out with this technology to be really careful. Who's operating the machine? Did you tap into their intuition? Did you tap into their will? Did you tap in to see if they're a good person? Because somebody messing with that machine, and yes, it can happen in quantum entanglement, they can mess you up and it could rewrite your codes, that the God spark codes that you were born with. It can do that. So just be very mindful that the technology has been here and has been here for a very long time. And of course, they're always upgrading and making better things. Okay, but it's for a military sense. All these super soldiers were getting regenerated and getting their limbs back because they got killed or they got hurt really bad. And they went to the machine and boop, new hand, boo, right? Great and all. It's just something in a way because you don't know who's really behind the technology. Okay, and even right now, there's a lot going on in the ether. There's a lot I'm pulling from that I just don't even resonate. Well, okay, I'm not going to say that word. That I don't feel is of best for humanity. I'm trying to stay out of judgment. But, of course, air to be human. The fountain of youth. It shows up in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Johnny Depp's character, and trips out. And I've heard other stories of people who inadvertently didn't know what they were doing and took something that was made out of a pineal gland of a child under 7. And for the sake of keeping my channel up, I will not mention it. But that is something that is the fountain of youth. But again, if you're going against the laws of nature and of source because you lost your God spark and you don't at this point care, you want to live to the fullest in this experience without realizing that you keep going and going and going and going, and you'll have a million more experiences if you just behave yourselves. But there's a lot of deception on this planet. A lot. So the fountain in youth can be found in multiple ways, but and I'm reading in Transylvania Moonrise about technology, but who wants, I don't want to live and see. I'd rather live my normal embodiment, and then when I'm done, goodbye, adios, I'm done playing this chess match, I'm done. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. As much as we want to watch things progress and unfold, we can do that from upstairs. There's no boundaries. We're bound here. I'd rather be looking at watching the show at times than actually playing the role on the stage. So I mean, it's quite interesting, his perception, especially that he's not technically that wrong with the hovering spacecrafts, and Atlantis was seeded all by aliens. There was no humans at this point on the planet, and if there were, they were in remote spots around this realm of existence. Everything is so inverted and convoluted that we really don't know. The guesstimate, we could say that a whole plethora of things happened, and they could have used telekinesis. They could have used sound and vibratory instruments to move. Okay, if they're saying they're moving it with the spacecraft, okay, that's just another one to tack on to the theories that could have made that pyramid, right? I've never been to Egypt. I will one day get there, but in the meantime, there's a lot of speculation and a lot of research by a lot of different people of what these are, but it's a Stargate. That's number one. It's an energy circulating center. The holes around Menti are under the Sphinx. That's where we actually, in Ashiana Dean's theory, we come into, like when the God spark comes, like we all go through that portal to come here to then be seated. Very interesting shit. Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm not saying there's a lot of mystery and a lot of fanatical fun stuff that we can learn, but his approach is not something that untangible. I don't agree with everything he says, especially the earth and the machines and stuff, but if we think to fathom, how did that really how does things get sliced in like perfection back then? They still don't have tools to do half of this shit construction wise to make what's already been here. Please. I mean, that's one thing when I studied art, you got to study architecture too. There's no effing way some of these stones that they cut way back then, people can't even do that kind of work now. So what did they have to make those cuts? I'm telling you what, it wasn't a human being doing it. Hell no. No. I mean, the things that if you look back in our recent history, and that's like 1800s and stuff, how the hell did they carve and cut marble and stone? Because let me explain. We were on horse and buggy. How did they erect those really asinine large arches just by chance. From trees, they made scaffolding and they lifted up a heavy ass stone. Think about it. Think about it. It doesn't. What makes sense? What makes sense? Chapter 9. The Sword of Damocles. I have explained that nearly everyone on this old earth has the more or less dormant potential to communicate by thought. Like learning to play the piano or learning to become a master at any trade, sport, or other activity, the use of thought communication can only be accomplished by regular, continuous practice. The space people use instrumentation in their thought contracts with people only to ensure positive reception and to maintain power through conditions that could otherwise interrupt their reception. They think into a device they call an Adaphon. This receiver in turn transmits through a projector they call omnibeam. The omnibeam can be focused on any individual or a group of people. Oh, the voice of God technology. Jeez Louise. All those antennas and all those satellites going, or the radio towers going off by Montauk. Again, where does your thoughts come from? I know I channel mine. I know where mine are coming from. This projection of thoughts is mentioned throughout the Bible. Voices coming down from heaven. 6th density. The Lord speaking unto Moses and many others, including the voice of God coming to Jesus. Voice of God tech, voice of God tech, voice of God tech. The space people have explained that they can only focus this beam safely on people who have devoted much time to an awareness of open perception. I'm laughing because this is where, like, when he wrote this, people were not aware of the technology that the military industrial complex had put out to manipulate people. I could tell you for sure, moving out of the Isle of Staten Island, which wasn't as bad, but Manhattan, holy hell. It was bombarded. Otherwise, the beam could be dangerous to the physical health of anyone that cannot stand its powerful vibratory transmission. So they've been tampering with this stuff to lower it to the point where it don't hurt people. But take the just one more drink. One person has a power of 1 and cannot normally only contact one other individual. Here on Earth, one power of thought is sufficient in the Earth's magnetic field to contact anyone, other individual who is receptive at that time, anywhere on the Earth's surface. Thought projection by one person must be done by concentrating upon the individual you wish to receive your thought. Thinking his name and what he looks like must be pictured in the projector's mind several times. Then the thought you wish to transmit must be concentrated upon several times. This is for beginners. After one becomes adept at projection, only one thought, person, picture in the projector's mind will be necessary. The thought will not be projected to the one of whom you are thinking until you release the thought. In other words, after the concentration, you must immediately forget what you were projecting and think of anything else. As long as you hold the thought in your mind, it will not reach the one you are projecting to. I think 2 years ago, I did a meditation similar to this, not with trying to have telekinesis and telethought and all that. It's just concentrating what you really want in an orb of energy that you visualize here in your hands. And then you release that ball and you can't think about it. You don't want to draw yourself back to it. You don't want to even think about it. You just let it go and do its thing. Very similar. Very interesting. Unless the person you are projecting to is in a receptive state, he may not receive the thought. To be receptive, you must make your mind a blank. Do not think of anything while trying to receive the thoughts of others. With continuous practice, your projective and receptive ability will become apparent to you. The power of thought can be increased by the increase in the number of people. One person has 1 power, 2 people have 8 power, 3 people have 512 power. This power cubes its resultant to the maximum of 12 people. This is the formula Jesus gave to the people when the creative spirit spoke through him, saying, "When 2 or more are gathered in my name, there am I also." This is the force that the supreme intelligence used to think the universe into being. Nothing can be manifested without first being thought of by someone. This is the reason Jesus did not select his disciples from among the intellectuals of his day. He would have too many fixed ideas to undo in their minds. Instead, he picked common people from among the multitudes, only one of which could even write. He knew that it would be easier to use the power of 12 simple-minded people than to undo the dogma, custom, and religious illusions established in the minds of the learned. Most of the acts Jesus performed were done through the concentrated power of his 12 disciples, with Jesus controlling this tremendous power. These acts have been termed miracles by people who didn't understand them. There are no miracles. Everything comes about by the natural laws of cause and effect. Thought is the causal force of all effects. He's right. Thought is a positive polarity predominance, as is a casual or projective thought. Force. In the physical level of negative polarity predominance, thought cannot manifest by itself. That is why all these agendas, even by influencers that everybody listens to, there's an agenda being steered when it places you in fear. They can't manifest it. They have to make you manifest it. So you keep thinking about it. You keep projecting your will upon it. And you want it to happen because you think it's of the good of humanity, when in fact it's just an agenda staring you in the left field of life. Just take that into consideration. Polarity requires 2 poles to be active to manifest a result. A battery with only a positive pole will not produce current. Duality is required in equal and opposite forces in order to manifest action as a resultant. Motion can only be when unbalance exists. That which is in balance cannot move of itself. Some other force must come and cause the action. This is why the expression of God helps those that help themselves is a universal law. The Bible tells you that God rested on the 7th day. Nowhere does it tell you that God started creating again. It says that God completed his works. This means that God is still resting and can only be manifested through man, who was given dominion over all things. This in itself is proof of the reincarnation. And this also tells us that what I've been asking everybody to do, and not in it like do your homework kind of way, it's going and doing your own work, because once you find out what you are inside and what your soul is, holy crap, what we all could do together. Holy shit. But here's the problem. We are projecting to everybody but ourselves. We don't take ourselves into a consideration because a lot of us are selfless, which is a good thing. Don't think it isn't. It's great. But here's the problem. When you don't self-love, you're not emanating the vibration out of into your auric field, into your toroidal field. You're not doing much. You could have the best heart in the world. You could be doing a million things for a million good people, and that's great. Are you doing something good for yourself? Are you promoting, projecting, interceding all those concepts? Why hasn't anything happened? Because we all have to do the inner work to get there, so that God can come, the light one. We're all just waiting for everybody to do the work, to figure it out, to heal the trauma, so that we can move forward. Can't do that if everybody is projecting outside of themselves for everybody else but themselves. It is a service to yourself. Remember, you have to have a full cup in order to pour out to others. If your cup is empty because you don't take self-care into consideration, you're not yourself speaking in negative terms, you kind of ignore yourself, well, there you go. Death is only the departure from negative polarity manifestation to positive polarity manifestation. Life is only manifested through the interchange of motion through the unbalanced opposites. Yes. So there's a blank page here. So I'm going to pick up where I think and feel where it's going. You must think what you need or others need and use the word or the power of opposite polarity and patiently wait for the result after forgetting about it or releasing it into God's hands. The creator caused the universe to be. Then all was given unto the dominion of man throughout the universe. Man, using the force of thought, can create new things for progression or create new things for destruction. Thought is the prime force and is neutral, where we all need to go. Words are the effect of thoughts, whether they be good or bad. Words are in the range of our physical hearing. They are means by which thoughts are conveyed between people with sound. Various languages convey the same meaning by different sounds. There have been many arguments, discussions, and efforts to prove that things and people not seen in our life level can be materialized. The Bible tells many times about angels appearing before people, apparently out of thin air. Spirit. A lot of people can see what's going on behind me. To believe in the Bible of Christianity with the concept that angels appear in olden time and cannot appear in our time is certainly bullheaded orthodoxy. This is primarily done by some Christians who do not want angels to interfere with their selfish ways and pleasures. Much has been said about the space people of today materializing and dematerializing on several occasions. I could truthfully say that I have seen and talked with one of them that instantly disappeared to my vision. But I could still feel him when I touched where I just have seen him. Just as orthodoxy places limits on people's thinking, so does your physical sense of sight places limits on your seeing. Your eyes can only see within the range of visible spectrum about 4,000 to 7,800 angstroms in wavelength measurement. You cannot see the air, yet you breathe it. That's why I say a lot of things are metaphysical. You can see water in its fluid density and its vaporous density, but when the stream is absorbed in the air, you cannot see it. Vibrations from about 20 to 20,000 cycles a second can be heard with the ears. Vibrations below our hearing level are called infrasonic, and those above it ultrasonic. Because the five lower senses all have limits, people's thinking has become narrowed into a groove that will not allow them to accept anything that is not within their limitations. Many of the space people live in frequencies of life beyond the human limits. By using methods developed by them, they can bring their body vibrations inside our visual limits as easily as we can condense unseen moisture out of the air into water and then freeze it into ice. Many spiritualist mediums can materialize people from beyond the door of death. Do not let yourself be confused, however, with these ectoplasmic figures or the words spoken through them. All figures of people generated through the ectoplasm of another person are from the transition of earthbound level or are created from the mind of the medium. This is not to be scoffed at, as the power to create from the mind is a great one indeed. None of the space people from other levels of life can ever materialize through a medium. It is not possible to bring through ectoplasm means anyone from beyond the Earth's force field. In order to progress to the finer frequencies of life in other levels, you must first know where you stand in this level. This creative spirit is designed his light universe that nothing can exceed its individual vibratory qualifications. Your individual record is being made daily by the way you live. Everything you think, say, or do is recorded in your aura. In the life following this one, you will only be able to progress to the highest level in which your light record will vibrate. No one is going to judge you but yourself, and you will be faced with the results of the record you establish here. You must conform in the way you live to the laws of the universe. The densities are established by different vibratory frequencies of light. You can qualify to jump grades by the way you live here now. The channeling. I am the voice, O man, speaking in the stillness of your being. The righteous recognize my voice. My call is to those whose ears are deaf to my withinness. I plead eternally that all may hear the me in you eventually. In the pattern of my doing, I bring you pain and joy that you may feel me in the contrast of your senses. Never shall I cease to call to those who live in darkness. Those, my patience is infinite. I suffer because of your sins. When you hear me and another, listen. Do not shy from me in the disguise of rationous laughter. The ones who live in the clamor of confusion to hide from me are only adding sorrow to tomorrow. So I make each tomorrow a day, that your memory of yesterday shall make my voice the ladder from out of the silence of an added day you spent alone. I have extended the light to manifest my creations from thought of me and perpetual motion throughout eternity. Each motion to bring an effect and every effect a cause, by repetition in an endless pattern of my doings. I ended my work of bringing about and made thee, all man, to carry continually. My infinite watching is directed to see my image of instrumentality, which is thee, O man. Whenever you sing, my heart sings too, through the joy of your emotion. And when you assist another, the act of thee is devoted to me, and for me through thee. Whenever you sorrow, I am sad too. Each thrill you feel is transmitted to me, I too am ignored. You fail to see the me and others around you. Though you are effect of my cause. Oh man, intelligent image of me. I only exist as effect of your wherever you cause me to be an extension through thee. Then I am then am I active, then do I live, when you give effect to my cause in the love of me through each day of my days eternally. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been speaking about this the last couple of weeks in my videos, and here we are. It starts somewhere, and it starts with you at home. You watching me. It starts with you. And only when you can know the God within and the divine within and what you are in totality as a soul, not as a human, as a soul, then you could see and recognize the God in other people and to see the divine beauty of what they are. And we're all made up of different things, still of source, but we're individuated with different fractals of different things that make us unique and make us us, that gives us the abilities that we have, and they're all unique and only to us. Everybody senses, feels, uses their five senses differently. Some people don't have their five senses. So just realize how powerful you really are. And when you come into one with that knowing, you will see it in other people. And that's what I'm trying to empower all of you to do, is to do the inner work so that you can get there. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this section of the Council of the Seven Lights by George Van Tassel. It's very interesting. The channelings were spectacular. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Please be safe, be seen. Sending each and every one of you love, light, protection, and shielding. Again, if you're interested in my work, it's affordable. I can tell you that right now from other people. It's affordable. Christmas is coming. My website is AllyKatkreations211.com. You can click the link on my page and email me if you're interested in anything that you see. I can custom make anything. Not anything, but pyramid and some creation wise I can. So until the next one, guys, please do your work. You are loved and appreciated. And I just want to spark that motivation, light a fire under that tushy to get you doing what you need to do in order to move forward and help all of us do it together. Okay, bye. Bye, guys.